a fresh election.
Fixing a fresh date when there are challenges to the due process of elections, not supplementary elections.
Were there no challenges in the case of Kogi State when you could not hold elections in some areas because of snatching of ballot boxes? This will not be the first. Don't forget, in 2011, we had to hold supplementary elections in some states because of violence, because of chaos. So what do you do in place of that? Are you going to go ahead and make a declaration which will be faulted by the court? There's nothing wrong in supplementary elections. Where, for example, you have a situation in Kogi State as it is now, where you had violence, you have snatching of ballot boxes, and you could not hold the election precisely because of some of these factors. What do? And you could not make a return because the difference between the leading candidate and the runner-up is far short of what the cancellation that you've had. The best thing to do would be to order a supplementary. There's nothing wrong in a supplementary election. There's nothing wrong in it at all. And it's anticipating that there could be breaches of the law, and there could be a threat posed to the entire electoral process.
This is the portion of the Electoral Act that was looked at, that a lot of people have been talking about. They talked about Section 33, they talked about Section 34, even 31, and then 53, which it looks as if INEC based its decision on 53, 1, 2, 3, 4. But at the end of the day, you said something about protecting the ballot.
Yeah, sure.
In other words, protecting the voter.
Yeah.
But the voters in Kogi, did anybody take them into cognizance in the course of making this decision?
Oh, sure.
Are they happy that this decision was made?
No, I'm not in INEC.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you think INEC? Person. I think the question to us is that as INEC acted in cognizance of the law, as INEC breached any law, if you look at the nearest section, and that's why people talk about approximation of the law. Because the law never emphasized that in the course of an election, just between an inconclusive election and before you could hold the supplementary election, the leading candidate would die, which is what has happened. There's no provision under Section 181.
We've not even gone to the part of a candidate passing on. We're looking at the part of that inconclusive state.
Yes.
In taking that decision, did INEC consider the voter as well? You say you want to protect the ballot.
Oh.
Do you think INEC considered the voter and how the voter might feel?
The interest that is uppermost in any election umpire to be worth the name is to contemplate and to secure and to shield the average voter from abuse and from the mortgage of his intention to cast his ballot for a particular candidate. And where there's no clear intention, where there's no clear statement made, as in the case of Kogi, what do? You have to quickly respond to a situation by saying that, look, there has to be a supplementary election because the voters in those areas where you had cancellations, they were never allowed to express their intent. That was what the commission, I think, has done. But I think what is important is that what is the way forward from this dilemma, from this situation? And I would suggest, I would canvass for a quick amendment of the law. Whichever option that is settled for at the end of the day, it is most likely that the matter will end up in a law court. In fact, the section that is most relevant personally to me is Section 181, subsection 2 of the law, where it talks of an outright cancellation by INEC and a fresh election to be ordered by INEC, where you have the governor elect, the governor after an election had been held, the governor elect and the deputy governor elect actually die, or they were unable to take their oath of office or take the oath of alliance. What do? The commission will order a fresh election. Okay, and that is the nearest section to the situation that we have on hand.
Okay, now we also, moving on, we have a case where the INEC has called for substitution of the candidate that has died. What law backs the substitution of a candidate? Yeah,
like I said, you see, it's a situation in which everybody is just trying to see how best to handle this situation on ground. There's no clear guidance as to what the interpretation of the law would be. But in any case, INEC has to take a decision. The party also has to take a decision. They could be the wrong decision. They don't have to be the right, because the right decision is not even known. It's not known because the law is not certain. Having taken a decision, you can decide to stand by that decision, or you can take that decision and look for a cleaner in the law court to clean it up or to flesh it up. But I think what is important is that a decision has to be taken. Whether that decision is defensible by law or not will be for the law court to really say. But I believe we should not be in a haste to resolve this matter, because even if you are in a haste to resolve, it will take time for it to be resolved through the legal system. Ultimately, the court will have to have the final say. Out of the parties, either the APC and the PDP, I don't see how whatever decision is taken, however it is resolved, they will still have to take it up at a higher level.
Let's look at that. Let's look at the issue of the registered voters and the number of PVCs distributed. Now, the differential between the highest votes cast and the highest votes gotten by the two leading candidates. That's what caused this inconclusion.
And the number of cancellations that had occurred in the field was far higher. And if you assume that the assumption usually under Jega's leadership, and I believe is still the same thing, that you have to assume the worst case scenario, that all the cancellations could be for the candidate that is the runner-up. If that happens, it could be the one to win. And there's nothing that says that he could not gather all the votes. Well, of course, you know, theoretically, in practice, it's not possible. But theoretically, you have to assume that that is a possibility.
Let's see if we can get some clarification here. Yeah. Now, if that be the case, INEC has a total number of PVCs distributed in those 91.
Far lesser than the number
less than
on
that
the
49,000.
register.
So how would that work out at the end of the day?
But you know, the register is what is known to election. The PVC is the permanent voters card is an internal arrangement of the commission to make sure that you do not allow fake permanent voters card to enter into the voting arena.
1 second.
Is to shield.
One second.
Yes.
The register is what's known to election.
Yes.
The PVC is an internal arrangement.
Of course, but you know you cannot.
Nobody can vote
what
without
I'm saying is that
PVC.
you cannot vote without your PVC. What I'm saying is that you see the number of PVC. The commission usually will keep a register of PVC distributed. That is to make sure that if you have not collected your PVC, you have no business coming today, because you know there are all kind of clone PVC in town, and you want to secure the ballot. You want to make sure that somebody who has not collected his PVC from the right custody of the commission will not have an opportunity of coming to. Of course, the card reader will reject, of course. But the point is that you cannot but take cognizance of the number of the register of voter. That is what would decide who wins an election and who has lost in an election.
All right.
So very quickly, before we leave, sorry, Amanda, before we leave, what would be the ideal thing to do in this case? Do we go for the supplementary election, or do we go with the way the political parties are already asking? For the PDP, they want, Governor Wada wants to be declared the winner, and for the APC, they want to see that the runner-up, the running mate of late Audu becomes the candidate of the party to complete the process.
No, I wouldn't want to comment on what the internal arrangements of political parties would be. But my concern, like I said before the opening, is that we must make sure that the integrity of the ballot is not derogated. We must protect the ballot.
How can INEC do that?
No, I won't speak for INEC, but as a lay person, I would say that where you now transfer the number of votes that have been gathered by a deceased candidate to another candidate who was not a contestant, you are assuming too much. That the people, you are dehumanizing, you are removing the human agency from the ballot, and we should not do that.
In other words, you're looking at the possibility of having a fresh election.
Oh, a fresh election seems to me to be the most logical way to go in terms, within the context, you look at it from two angles. You look at it from the point of view of political parties. A candidate is not a candidate unless it's sponsored by a political party. And a political party on its own cannot stand for an election unless there are candidates. And a candidate, the human agency, for me, is my major concern. I know Lai Olurode as an individual, if I start an election, it's not the same thing as Mr. Suleiman Ali stand an election. Even though both of us belong to, that is why you have to go through the rigor of primaries to emerge from an aspirant, you now emerge as a contestant, as a candidate of the party. So it's not the same thing. And I don't think we should conflate the two. We should not conflate the interests of the party and conflate it with the interests of the candidate who is standing in an election. Nor should we concede votes of a particular individual standing for an election in a political party, concede it and transfer. You cannot afford to transfer votes. And that will amount to transference of votes, where I now say you inherit the liabilities and the assets of the contestant that is now laid. That would be assuming too much. That in any case, you are also taking the electorate for granted, that they will have voted for us any case, no matter the candidate that we have presented. Where you have a strong candidate, you have seen cases where strong candidates, when they leave political parties, all their members will live with them, and they go into another political party. So where you now say that those individuals do not matter, no matter what they are, they will not really count. You depersonalize the entire process. And you remove them of their personality, especially their enigma, the fact that they are the most popular candidate.
Lai Olurode, Professor of Sociology, many thanks for coming on the program today.
It's my pleasure.
As a wrap on the show here on Sunrise Daily this morning, many thanks for being in such nice company. I'm Sulaiman Alede.
And I'm Neota Igbe.
Thank you for watching. I'm Emana Amawe.
See you again.